know them from, but you recognize people like that on the fourth dimension. You recognize the spiritual essence that they have. And we're writing a song about that. Right? Well, I've already written the song. We're going to be recording it. That's the next single I'll be sending you. It's called Crossing Over. And it's about people that recognize other people on that level. And, very slowly it will come to them. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does, and they'll remember where they were and how they knew them, et cetera, et cetera. And so I can't say that everyone has been here before, because if you look mathematically at the amount of people that are on this planet, there are probably people that have not been reincarnated before.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that there are a large percentage of people that have, and when people have looked around and make sure nobody else was listening, and they started talking to me about that, they had my undivided attention, and I was more than happy to discuss that with them.
Now, by any chance, do you hear my show Friday? I had a guest on that died 6 times, but I think one of the times he died from a real bad motor accident. He was dead for like almost 13 minutes, and he remembered going into this black tunnel and then going really bright. And then, seeing his father and seeing things. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I don't remember those things specifically, but what I do remember very vividly are episodes of past lives, being in ancient Greece, being in ancient Rome, being in the Byzantine Empire, being in Nazi Germany. That in and of itself was an interesting story, because the person that was in that plane that went down had been a 12-year-old schoolboy, and he had been brought up in a somewhat aristocratic family in Germany. He was going to a private school, and he was wearing one of those those blue uniforms that you see the kids wearing, and he had a book strap, and this was in the early 30s, and the brown shirts. Late 20s or early 30s, the brown shirts came by, and they had the flag. Well, he made the mistake of spitting on their flag, and they beat him up so bad that it was like one of those pictures of a guy in a cartoon that's laying in traction in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
I'm laughing about it, but it really wasn't funny. But when he was in that state, he basically figured out that these guys were the ones that were going to be running the show. So when he finally healed, he joined Hitler Youth and ended up he ended up joining the Luftwaffe, becoming an 18-year-old radio operator and tail gunner, and the rest is history.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've just even the author I had who wrote the book, he adopted his son, and his son all of a sudden started talking about the Titanic. That he was on the Titanic and how people were locked in and they were drowning and how horrible it was, and the screaming.
Yeah.
And then people, dying in the ocean, freezing to death, and people actually pushing people off boats because they wanted to survive. And he was saying all this stuff. God, I'll have memories like that. It'd be so hard to, I think, not affect a human life.
Well, I think people, I think various people, depending on how close to the surface their soul is, and the soul is a recording agent, do have those memories. I mean, it's, I can remember one police officer that was very, I think that he trusted me enough on a fourth dimensional level. I think he finally figured out that he could talk to me. So he took me aside one day and he says, I want to tell you something, and I hope you don't laugh at me. And I said, no, go ahead. Well, I've lived before. And I said, yeah, so have I. And so after we broke the ice, he started talking to me about these various lives that he'd had. One was as a cowboy, and it was very interesting. But I think that, there are things about the human psyche that we don't totally understand, and there are those people that engage in what I'll call empirical logic. And I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but part of the problem I had as a cop was the fact that, I had the background that I had, and I would run into a large percentage of police officers that were diehard empiricists. If you couldn't smell it, eat it, taste it, touch it, et cetera, that it didn't exist. Life got to be very boring around people like that. So I was very fortunate that I had some very extensional people that were in law enforcement that I could have conversations with.
Well, yeah. And it all, when you have conversations with somebody else that had maybe the same beliefs and same experiences that you have, I mean, it does open up your mind because, if a lot of people, think about, like I've had a guest on it, didn't want to really come on, and she was scared to because she never came on a radio show before, and she thought people would look at her, she's crazy. But she had a past life experience, and it was, so vivid that I brought her on. And you know what? I totally believe that she believed that it really happened, and I really think it did happen. I do.
Well, I'll give you
Go ahead.
I'll give you an example of two friends that I have. One is a retired police dispatcher, and the other is that other gentleman that I told you about that's retired law enforcement. And we were all down at the Crusades together. So, you recognize people on that level, and you get together with them, and you have empathy with them. And we've had some great conversations, and we are friends. We were friends then, and we're friends now. And I think, the same thing is true with, a multitude of people out there. They have people that they are friends with because they recognize who and what they are on the spiritual level, and they have empathy with them.
You're so right. Now, last couple things, and then I want to talk again a little bit about where maybe they can find your music and buy it. Roswell, do you believe that Roswell actually happened? Do you believe it was a weather balloon? Or first, it was a UFO crash. Then the next morning, it was a weather balloon. And then all these years on, it was a weather balloon. Do you think it was actually a crashed UFO from everything you ever heard or read?
I think when the status quo I think when the reports first came out and they said that there was a flying saucer that they had found that had crashed, and then all of a sudden, they did probably one of the greatest cover-up jobs in the world and said it was, quote, a weather balloon. You bet. Corso, basically went out of his way to say, hey, yeah, Roswell really did happen. And I think there was more than one event like that took place from the research that I've done. There was Roswell, and there were several others. There was one in 1945 before Roswell, and there were several others after that. One that actually landed in the Mexican desert, and you're probably aware of that one. But I think that there have been more than one incident, and I think there's been more than one cover-up.
Well, in the Roswell area, too, a lot of people don't realize that they were military radar towers there. And, I have had a guest on who is well up in the UFO community, claimed that radar tower is probably what caused that UFO to crash. Now, that's his own assumption, but, it's no way a weather balloon could have. I've seen pictures of Roswell taken right after the crash, after they cleaned the area. There's major trees taken out where it kind of like slid into the rocks. I don't believe, no way a weather balloon, could have ever done that.
I don't think it was a weather balloon. I think that something occurred, and I think that there's been more than one incident like that, and I think that the powers that be, for whatever reason, didn't want it to go out. I think that one of the standard lines, Gary, and they'd say, well, in the name of national security, we can't tell you about that. Really? I think that's been overused big time.
Yeah, I remember getting told that a couple of times when I was in the military, and I've actually even had to sign a document that I would never disclose something, or I could be locked up for the rest of my life. Yeah,
well, I understand that. I remember when I received my Yankee White top secret clearance, they said from now on, your phone calls, your emails, every correspondence that you make is going to be monitored. And I remember a friend of mine saying, well, you're retired now. That's not going to happen. And I started laughing, and I said, okay, I have some bad news for you. Once you have that clearance, you think that they stop monitoring what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. They don't, because I have had a guest on my show numerous times who worked for the DOD for like 13 or 14 years. And, he told me a lot of things that really scared me after he was on. He goes, that I left under the DOD not on the best terms. And, I'm going around talking about what the DOD was doing, to, monitoring people, reading your emails. He goes as far as even your smart appliances. If you're on their list, they can listen into you. And he says they do. So he goes, it doesn't matter. If you know somebody that's on that list and you call them up on the phone, then all of a sudden now you're on that list. So, I don't know.
Well, I guess now we're both on that list.
Probably. Well, I don't know. It seems like sometimes on my show, if I get onto a weird subject, all of a sudden, if Skype or a regular telephone line, either one, all of a sudden I have problems.
Well, I got disconnected from you, 3 times?
3 times. Yeah. It just totally dropped out, which is not normal.
Well, I think that what would Carl Gustav Jung call that? An interesting coincidence?
Oh, yeah.
No, he called it a meaningful coincidence. That was it.
Yeah, I have actually had it happen where I had this guy, again, it was on the DOD, because he was with the DOD on my show about 5 times. I remember one time we got into something really heavy, and besides the phone dropping out, all of a sudden my internet would drop out, and then my backup internet would drop out. Bang, bang, 2 separate things, and then I have satellite as backup, and then that wouldn't function. And then 3 minutes later, everything came back up. We started talking about that same subject again, bang, bang, boom. And that went on that night. So it kind of made me wonder what in the blank is going on.
Well, I had a friend of mine that was in Army intelligence, and he told me that one time they actually shut down. They did it for 10 minutes. They shut down one of the major cities' electrical grids just to show them that they could do it. So, and that was way back when. And we're talking, late 60s, early 70s. So the technology that they have now is light years ahead of that.
Oh, yeah.
And, the amount of technology they have and what they can do with it is pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah. I do love you, Trump, just in case you're listening. Anyway, why don't you tell people where they can find your music?
Oh, goodness. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, Napster, Deezer, any place that is showing digital music, you can find our music.
And can you purchase it then off of those platforms?
Oh, absolutely. You can download it off all those sites. And just for you, for future frames of reference, we're going to be putting together several songs. We're already starting to work on our second album. And, of course, you're going to get singles as soon as they come out. So I hope you're ready for that.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, our time is up. I want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, I just checked my emails while we're talking. I got 3 full pages of people, saying how much they love your music. It's popped up on my show.
I really appreciate that, and I just want to tell you how much fun I've had coming on your show. And anytime, if there's anything that strikes a chord with you and you want to talk to me, I'd love to talk to you.
Well, Tom, you're always welcome back on the show. Mark on your calendar, anytime after the 10th of September, it's going to get really heavy. We're going to be talking a couple nights about Area 51. We're going to be talking again about abductions and UFOs. It's going to get heavy starting September 10th onward.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be listening, so it'll be a lot of fun. I really enjoy your program. You are basically the paranormal UFO show that is what Art Bell used to be. And I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Okay, Tom, my friend, you take care and have a great week, will you?
I've had great fun, and you do the same. You stay safe.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Take care.
So tomorrow we got Susan Shepard on. We're going to be talking about ghosts and ghost hunting in old ghost towns. That's tomorrow on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. Please share us on Facebook. Anytime you see any post about who our guests are, just go ahead and share it. And also, if you want to check our website out, I've been updating it now every day. I apologize. I went for a long time where I just let the website just sit. And I apologize. And then one day I got this long email from one of my listeners saying, please, can you update your website? It's been the same for months. I've been making a point now for the last 2 weeks. I go on every day and update it. So you can check it